Hello, world. Welcome to another week of Golf Subpar. Colt Knost and Drew Stoltz. Sleaze had quite the golf tournament this weekend. The Arnold Palmer Invitational. Bryson DeChambeau, the champ.
Yeah, if you feel like the Bryson train was slowing down heading into Augusta this year, go ahead and forget that. It is going to ramp back up into full steam ahead, I guess. It'd been a while since we talked about Bryson, I feel like last year leading up to the Masters, it was all Bryson talk. It was his tournament to lose. We had Spieth on here. He even made that exact comment. Like the pressure for him going into that Masters, I feel like was unlike anything we'd seen since Tiger Woods, being it's like this guy or bust. And now it kind of slowed down a little bit, and now I expect it to ramp all the way back up.
I mean, the Masters is a month away, and I cannot wait. This thing is wide open. More wide open than I think it has been in the past. But, I mean, we mentioned he put on a clinic. I mean, what he is doing with all the talk gets about his distance and everything, which he deserves because he's worked his ass off. And, I mean, some of these tee shots he hit last week, especially on number 6, obviously the par 5. Having 57 yards for your second to a par 5 is kind of an advantage.
Yeah, I played with Lee Westwood in the final round. What was it, 168 yards differential? I mean, clearly, there's different angles being taken there, so it's amplified. But 168 yards, that's tough to come by. But all the attention gets drawn to his distance and things like that. And I feel like anytime he wins, the conversation comes back to like distance. What do we got to do? Roll the ball back and things like that. But just a week ago, Colin Morikawa won a concession, and we were like, oh, wow, it's great. See, even guys that don't hit it crazy long can still win out here. But as soon as Bryson does something, you ramp it all the way back up. And it's not like he shot 20 under and won by 9. 11. He had shot 11 under and was toe-to-toe with Lee Westwood. Lee had every chance to win that golf tournament or at least take it to extra holes, and he didn't do it. So, I mean, you got to tip your cap to him. It's not like he's skirting the rules or taking it or gaming the system. He just worked hard as shit to try to get big and strong and faster, and he's done it, and it's working.
He does all the things I don't want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Work hard and work out.
Yeah.
I'm out on that. But, I mean, obviously all the talk's about the driver, but, I mean, the putter's what won him that last week. He makes a 50-footer on 11 for par, makes a clutch, 6-7-footer on 17, and then another one on 18 for the win. I mean, the putter's what got it done for him.
Yeah, the driving gets all the attention. It's the same thing we said after he won at Winged Foot. We're like, oh, my God, look what he's doing. But meanwhile, he was only 6th in driving distance that week. He wasn't even the longest guy in the field. That's all they were talking about. We immediately go to Bryson proofing Augusta and what's he going to do around there. And then DJ wins that thing by a landslide, and no one says anything about DJ proofing the place. So it's just his distance is always going to get all the attention, because of all the work he puts in, all the attention he gets on social media and things like that. But the rest of his game is so solid that, the driver helps. Of course, it helps to hit it long and straight, but you don't win just by doing that.
No, totally agree with you. I mean, that's a big-time win leading into a big-time tournament, the Players' Championship, and our picks are coming up here in just a little bit. But, Sleaze, we have a national treasure for everyone this week. The man, George Brett, is in the building.
The only thing he might be better at than hitting a baseball is telling stories. He's a Hall of Fame baseball player. He's a triple inductee Hall of Fame storyteller. He's got some of the best in the world, and you don't got to do much to get the man going. I don't know what he does in the morning to get fired up, whatever he is. I want some of it.
He's got a lot of energy.
With some juice.
He does. It is a blast. We're not going to waste any time getting to George Brett, but before we do, a word from our official sponsor, Rokform. Sleaze, you and I both use them all the time. The best speakers in the business on the golf course. The best magnet I've ever seen. Things are strong. It's
strong as an ox.
It's crazy.
Strong as an ox, mate.
Unbelievable sound, waterproof. But by far the best thing, the battery life. Because how many times do we forget to charge our speakers?
Every time.
Every time. Basically every time. This one, 5-6 rounds, no problem. Just keep going.
Indestructible, too. The thing, you drop it, land on the concrete. Some of these other ones might break. You got to go get another one. Rokform can take a licking and keep on ticking. I was Rokforming this weekend. Used Rokform on the golf course. Took it straight to the pickleball court. My 2 favorite things. Used it there. It has tons of juice left on it. It's the thing. I use it for everything that I do outside. If I'm listening to music, it's Rokform all day, every day.
Yep. The party don't stop with Rokform.
Never.
You got to go get you one. Go to Rokform.com and enter code SUBPAR for 25% off. That's ROKFORM.com. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the beautiful George Brett on Golf Subpar.
All right, do we have an all-time beauty with us here today? The man's a World Series champion, 13-time MLB All-Star, Gold Glove winner, first ballot Hall of Famer. Basically, if there's an award in baseball, he has won it. George Brett is in the building. We've been waiting a long time.
Well, I've been waiting longer.
You have?
I've been waiting.
I've been trying.
You and I have talked about this. You said, we're going to do you first of the year. When you come out here, because I got a residence in Arizona, you said, when you get out there, we're going to do you. And
then we're gonna do you. Yeah. Did he say it just like that?
How about this? We're gonna get you on the air.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, COVID's going on and all this stuff, and you got that big job now, commentating. You're in and out of town.
Can't get a hold of the
You're
guy.
in and out of town, and you won't play golf with me because I'm not a +2. But then the Phoenix Open comes in town, and I'm going, hey, well, he said he was going to get me on. I bet you did 10 shows a day with all the tour players that were in town. And I was just thrown back in the weeds.
But this
and
is a
sure
very
enough,
special
now,
episode.
But
We
sure
wanted to
enough,
save
here
you
we
for
are
it.
now, where it's like no one's in town but me.
That's not
I'm
true.
the only guy in town.
We are
Who
so
was your
excited.
last show? Who was your last show?
Cody Ross.
Okay.
Who I took you to
Yes.
play golf with, and you were so upset.
Kicked his ass
You were.
that day. We kicked his
We
ass.
asked him right before
Me
you.
and Woodland and Mike Yellick kicked you guys' ass.
No, you
Pat
did
Perez.
not.
Yeah, we
I don't
did.
believe. Oh, well, there's 4 of y'all versus 2 of us.
No,
That
no,
sounds
no.
fair.
Cody Ross, you and Pat Perez at Silverleaf.
I don't believe
We
it.
cleaned your clock.
Gary's never won a money
This
game
is
in his
going
life.
well. I love the way.
Yeah.
We cleaned your clock. I remember I made an 80-foot putt on the first hole with Pat Perez's caddy reading it, and all of a sudden Pat's going, wait a second, you're caddying for my team, not his team.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that.
I helped
later.
us one hole that day.
Hey, that's
80-foot
contributing.
birdie putt on one.
3 for 2.
Yeah.
Here we go. All right.
Tough to beat.
Yeah, 3 for 2.
No, a
Congratulations.
3 for a 1.
Yeah, exactly. But like you said, absolute legend. But let's go back to the beginning a little bit. You
Okay.
grew up 3 older brothers. I didn't know one of your brothers actually played in the major leagues as well. Pitched in
yeah.
the World Series when he was 19 years old.
19.
Right. Youngest pitcher ever to pitch
That
in
is
a World
incredible.
Series game.
Still, to this day.
To this day. My brother Ken was a tremendous athlete. Maybe people out there, scouts, baseball scouts, and everything, they all say that he would have been, he's probably the best athlete they've ever seen because he was really good in football. Could have went to any college in the country as a football player and academic too. He was the smart one of the family.
Yeah,
Boy.
that didn't pass down.
And he had baseball scholarships up the gazoo.
Yeah.
4th player taken in the 1966 draft out of high school, and in 1967 was pitching in the World Series for the Boston Red Sox. How great is that?
That's a nice resume.
Yeah, that's pretty
How
awesome.
much older is he than you?
Let me see.
Okay,
We were
yeah.
all 2.5 years apart. I'm the youngest of 4 boys because right now I'm 67. My next brother's 70. Kemmer would have been 72 if he was alive. He passed away years ago with a glioblastoma brain tumor. And then that means my oldest brother's 74 and he's still alive.
Okay.
So we're all kind of 2.5 years apart.
Was the whole family crazy athletic?
Yeah, they were all good. I mean, Kemmer was a great student. My brother Bobby was a great student. John and I, my oldest brother and I, were not the good students. I think we were the tougher of the 2 or the 4. We could fend for ourselves. But my brother Ken was by far a great athlete. All my brothers played professional baseball.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
My brother John was drafted by the Red Sox. This is a funny story. And he was playing in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And they had a young shortstop out of high school. And he's playing with Carlton Fisk.
Yeah.
And my brother John was married. He already had a kid, and he wasn't a prospect, but he was a decent player. And all of a sudden, this guy was Carlton Fisk was getting on this young shortstop who kept making a lot of errors. And my brother John had a party at his house. He had a bunch of people come over after a game. And Carlton was giving this guy a lot of crap. Carlton was a number 1 pick by the Red Sox. So my brother John goes up to Carlton Fisk and says, "Hey, Carlton, just shut the fuck up. We don't want to hear that crap, Carlton says, "Who the hell do you think you are? You're Ken Brady." My brother John used to fight. He was a barroom brawler, and he's 70. What did I say? He was 74. He probably still would get in a fight in a bar in a heartbeat. And next thing you know, they exchange words, and the next thing you know, my brother John punches him. They go over a table. 2 days later, he was released.
Yeah,
so the lesson to be learned there, if you're like a 20th round draft pick, 30th round draft pick, and you beat the crap out of a number one draft pick that year, you're gone.
You're probably out of
You're
here.
gone.
Yeah.
He was released the next day.
Don't fuck with the franchise.
Yeah, you don't do that, especially Carlton Fisk, who, was in the Hall of Fame and had a great career. I played against him I played against Carlton Fisk for 20 years.
You played against them all.
I played against a lot of good guys.
What's that sibling rivalry growing up though? When you got an athlete, like a family of athletes like that, you guys had to go to war, I would think.
Well, me and My brother John and my brother Ken, they fought a lot. There were some fights. John and I never got in a fight. Ken and I never got in a fight. My brother Bobby and I would fight once in a while. But the oldest brother, John, and I were, like I said earlier, we were the most alike. So if any of my other two brothers got on me, my brother John would take care of it for me. I mean, he would just boom, and that was it. Yep. But it was, he was a tough guy. I mean, he was a really, really nasty guy.
Yeah. Well, you are just an absolute beauty.
Well,
there's no doubt about that. But I did hear you played high school football as well.
Right.
And rumor has it you got demoted from quarterback to defensive back. What?
Well, wide receiver. I was always a defensive back.
Okay, well, see, my sources...
Played both ways.
Yeah, back in the day when
total thing.
Played both ways, but I played both ways, and we had a really good team. And I was starting quarterback. Me and another guy kind of switched off and on. And I was starting quarterback, and then about the fourth game into the season, all of a sudden at halftime, the coach comes in, Doug Minner comes in, and he says, Frank, you're playing every play the second half of the game. George, you're going to go to slot back. And after the game, he called me in, and he says, you throw too many interceptions. I mean, you just throw too many.
All right, what else? What else
you
do I
throw
do?
too many. I mean, it's one of those things as a quarterback, you go back, and I thinking back, I really didn't know, okay, you have this one play, 222 rollout right, past 6. This guy goes out this way, this guy button hooks, this guy goes deep, and this guy trails. I didn't know where everybody was going to be.
That's a lot of shit
So
to remember.
I would run up there, I would roll out or something, and I'd be sitting there looking, and I'd look at this guy, and I'd look at the next guy, and all of a sudden you can feel pressure. Yeah. Kind of like Patrick Mahomes this year in the Super Bowl. He felt pressure every time. And so I would just launch it where I thought somebody would be.
That guy's on my team.
Those guys were never there.
Sounds like you need better receivers.
But I was all league 2 years in a row defensive back.
You were a stud, no doubt about it. But you ended up getting drafted 29th out of high school.
Yeah.
Was there any thought of going to college at all, or was it just you knew you
Well, I would have loved to have gone to college, Colt, but there wasn't one college that wanted me.
No way.
Not one. I had I did not have a baseball scholarship.
We need to talk
I
to
did
the
not
scouts.
have a football scholarship. I obviously didn't have a basketball scholarship.
Explain this to me, though.
And I didn't have an academic scholarship, so there was no place for me to
Your
go.
academics,
29th.
I understand. Yeah, how does this
drafted
work?
29th
Well,
overall.
baseball back in 1971 wasn't that big. I remember we trying to get into USC. USC had really good teams back then. And Rod Dato, who was the coach, said, yeah, you have to go to junior college before you come here. You're not good enough to go play in at this level. Well, before they went to the College World Series that year, they had some scrimmages. And so they got a lot of the seniors from that area that they were interested in maybe giving a scholarship to. And so I was one of those guys. So one day we're playing at this park in Buena Vista or someplace, I don't know, some stadium. And it was called Quigley Park. And we ended up winning. The high school guys beat USC 2-1.
Oh, wow.
I hit a 2-run home run off one of their starting pitchers, Randy Scarberry, and still didn't get offered a scholarship.
How good is your memory?
Now, the best, it's amazing.
Ridiculous.
Ask me what
honestly.
I did last week. I can't tell you. So then my high school coach, that's how you did it. Because they didn't have scouts going out. They didn't have all these tour teams going around, these tournament teams like they do now, these elite teams, traveling around, and they go to Omaha, they go to Cooperstown. They play every weekend, and they're flying planes, or taking whatever, and they play in front of college coaches and stuff. We didn't do that. I played at El Segundo High School, and that's the only team I ever played for. So all of a sudden, my senior year, and Bobby Winkles is the head coach at Arizona State, and they were always ranked number 1 or 2. USC was always up there, and somebody sent Bobby Winkles a memo. Hey, they have this kid that's a shortstop at El Segundo High School. His brother, it's in the genes, You might want to be interested in him. And so somebody had told Bobby Winkles that I wouldn't make it. They had Alan Bannister playing shortstop then for them. All of a sudden, Bobby Winkles, with his college success, he gets offered the head coaching job for the Chicago White Sox. This is like 4 years into my career. And I'll never forget, I've never met him before, and I walked up to him in batting practice, and I introduced myself to him. I said, Bobby, George Brett, how you doing? So we shake hands. And he goes, George, nice to meet you. And I said, I don't know if you remember this, but 1971, I graduated high school, and you told my high school football coach, or your people did, that I wasn't good enough to play at Arizona State. I've kept that in the back of my mind. And if I would have went to Arizona State, guess what? I wouldn't have already won a batting championship in the American League.
God, thank you.
What did he say? Thank
you. He laughed.
That is incredible.
And you should have been fired years ago, by the way. You can't analyze talent for shit.
But what goes around comes around, And I just wanted to give him that little jab. That's all I wanted to do.
But when you got drafted, you spent a couple, or when you came out, you're 29th, you spent a couple years in the minor leagues. And then at 20 years old, you go into the bigs, you get called out by the Royals.
Right.
You're a 20-year-old in a dugout full of grown men. What's that like as a 20-year-old?
Well,
is there hazing and things like that?
When I got drafted by Kansas City, growing up in Los Angeles, I didn't know anything about Kansas City. I didn't know if it was Missouri or Kansas. Guess what? They have Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas, so I would have been right.
It's tricky.
I would have been right.
Tricky deal.
And I live on the Kansas City. I live in Kansas, but I live like a mile from Missouri. So I get there, but the greatest thing that happened that year was because it was a new franchise. I was drafted in 71. The Royals didn't become a team until 69. So they didn't have 30, 40, 50 years of development of minor league players. They only had 2 years to stockpile their minor leagues, their minor league system. So it made it a little bit easier for me to advance. I always had good baseball knowledge. I knew where to be. I understood how to play the game. Maybe my fundamentals were a little off here or there. But if I would have signed, let's say I signed with the Baltimore Orioles, and they had Brooks Robinson playing third base, where would I be? I might not have never made it out of Double-A. So I had a chance to come up through an expansion team, and they weren't going anywhere, so they gave me a chance. And they billed it as this blonde-haired guy. My hair used to be blonde, and now it's gray, but I was a blonde-haired guy from Southern California, and it was a big deal in Kansas City,
What was your first thoughts when you stepped off the plane in Kansas City? What did you think?
Well, I actually drove. I drove a 1969 Volkswagen bus.
Of course.
I was in Omaha, Nebraska, and I remember when I got called up. I got called up on the road. We were in Chicago, and then we went to Minnesota. Then we came home, and then I went back down to the minors. And then the season was over. I was a September call up, and so I drove my bus up to Kansas City, and got a hotel room and just kind of lived there. But it was. To see that stadium, I mean, it's beautiful. It was beautiful then, and it really is beautiful now. They've done a lot of improvement, but it's intimidating, it really was.
Is it tough as a 20-year-old to be in a dugout with guys that got kids and are old? You can't even legally drink yet, and you're supposed to be, these are your teammates?
Legally.
Legally. Yeah. You probably never had a beer yet, George.
Yeah, right.
Like you.
Well, they had beer in the locker room, and I wasn't afraid to have one after a game. But no, it was intimidating. It would have been a lot more intimidating going to a team, let's say back then, the Boston Red Sox, when you have Lonborg, Yastrzemski, and all those guys. I mean, Kansas City, tell me one guy that was on the team in 73. You can't tell me one guy.
George Brett.
Well, and I wasn't playing every day.
Yeah.
My first year there, 73, I got 45 at-bats in a month and a half. Now, the next year, that was my first full year, but it was eye-opening. And I think one of the things that helped me, when I was like 14, 15 years old, my parents sent me to Boston to live with my brother Ken. And he lived on Commonwealth Avenue. He lived right below Jim Lonborg. He could walk to Fenway Park. And so I'd walk to the park with him every day, and I'd walk home with him every day, and we'd stop off. And I'm 15 years old, and, we're going to these places, sit over here, and they'd come over and give me a beer, But I got a chance to see what it was like. I wasn't like... I had experience. I wasn't like a fish out of water.
Yeah, totally
I had been there. I've seen it. I've seen locker rooms and stuff. So I felt pretty much at home.
Yeah, and you got off to a little bit of a slow start, and you credit Charlie Lau, who was your hitting coach, during the All-Star break in '74 for kind of revamping your swing and teaching you a few things. Was it like a complete overhaul, or was it just a few things? So you get drafted 29th overall, and then you completely overhaul your swing.
Yeah, well, we didn't have. Now they have minor league hitting coordinators. Our minor league hitting coach back then was Mickey Vernon, and he played with Ted Williams. And he would go to like Billings, Montana, where I started off, and then he'd go to San Jose for a week. Then he'd go to Jacksonville, Florida for a week, and then he would go to Omaha. Then he'd go home for a month and then do the same thing. He never told us how to hit. He never said anything. Nowadays, the Royals and every major league team, they have film coordinators. They take film videos of everybody. They're trying to, teach everybody from the first day they get in the organization to, as in professional baseball, they're studying your swing and they're trying to pick flaws out. I did it on my own, and everybody back then did. And I got to the major leagues, and Charlie Lau just watched me for 200 at bats in 1974. I was hitting 200, and I'm getting ready to go to the minor leagues. I feel it. And he pulls me aside, and we had our last game in Cleveland. We went home for 3 days, and then we were going to Baltimore after the All-Star break. And he says, I want to sit next to you on the plane. He said, I've been watching you for 2 months. You haven't made one adjustment. You're hitting 200. He said, what the hell are you thinking about? And I said, well, I don't know what adjustments to make. He said, I've always just played. I've never had a hitting coach before. And he said, look, I think you can play. I'm the only coach on this team that thinks you can play. Why don't you meet me at the ballpark? Why don't you? And here's the difference. If I was in AAA, I'm making $800 a month. If I'm in the big leagues, I'm making $15,000 a year. I said, yeah, I'll do that. That was minimum salary back then. I think it was $14,000 or $15,000 a year. So we met at the stadium. We went over a lot of stuff on the Wednesday, and we had practice. Then we were flying to Baltimore, and we probably looked at pictures, and he had some film of some guys, and we talked about it. We went out and took some batting practice. He moved me off the plate. One of my boyhood idols was Carl Yastrzemski, Triple Crown winner in 1967. Well, guess who my brother pitched in the World Series for in 1967? The Boston Red Sox. So Carl was like my favorite player, and he stood on the plate with his bat straight up in the air, and had that mighty swing. Well, Charlie Lau said, you got to move off the plate, get your bat parallel to the ground. Does this make sense or what, Drew? If the ball's coming
I'm a good guy to ask, being the baseball expert that I am.
So if the ball's coming at an angle like this.
Yeah, flat. Yep.
And you got your bat on the same plane.
Right.
Don't you think you're going to hit it more often?
I feel like that's
if you got your bat up here like this, and now you got to get and they tell you to swing down on the ball, so you're going to swing down on it. Yeah. So the first thing he did was move me off the plate and got my bat on the same plane as the ball. After that, it was so freaking easy. It wasn't even funny.
I love that.
It was unbelievable.
The hardest shit to do in all of sports is probably hit a baseball. And after that, it became... So basically...
But it was... Okay, I want to say it wasn't easy. It was easier.
Easier.
And then I kind of... We worked every day. 3 o'clock on the road, 4 o'clock at home. And we would take extra batting practice. And it just kept doing it and doing it and doing it. And the next thing you know, we set a goal. And this is the honest-to-God truth. To hit 250 by the end of the year. Now I'm at 200 with 200 at-bats. A month later, I'm at 250.
Oh, wow.
And I'll never forget going in the dugout and saying, Charlie, I can't believe we made our goal 250. He said, fuck you, it's 260. I said, no, you said it was 250. 260.
It's 260 now, bud.
I got it to 292.
Wow.
With 4 games to go. We had a game in Kansas City, and then we were flying to Chicago for 3 days, and they fired Charlie Lau that day.
Why? He just created a
monster. He was getting too much credit. He was getting too much credit for the turnaround, and the manager didn't like it.
Raised your batting average to 92 points.
Yeah, so all of a sudden I go 1 for 11, end up hitting 282. I really believe that if he was there, I would have hit 300.
Wow.
But my security blanket was gone.
Yeah, they take away the guy that created you, but developed you.
Just to go in the locker room every day, see him talk. We would visit after every game, sitting up in his locker, my locker, Hal McRae's locker, and we would talk about what the pitcher was trying to do, what good at bats, why did you swing at this pitch? Yeah, you would have gone 2 for 4 instead of 1 for 4 if you would have, or you could have gone 2 for 3 rather than 2 for 4 if you would have taken a walk, and that was his whole deal. Don't strike out and accept walks. That was his whole idea, But then the next year, our manager Jack McKeon was fired, And Whitey Herzog became the manager, and Charlie knew that Jack wasn't going to be living long in this organization, so he took a job in the minor leagues. Sure enough, the next year, Jack McKeon's fired. Whitey Herzog's the manager. First thing Whitey does, Charlie, you're back in the big leagues.
Get your ass back.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Thank you, Charlie. Because the next 2 or 3 years, I got more consistent. And I understood everything a little bit more, and it made it easier to duplicate for. I played 20 years in the big leagues, so and I never changed a thing.
And one of the greatest hitters to ever do it. But one thing that you've always told me is you mentioned they have beers in the locker room, in the clubhouse. After every game, you always had a couple of beers. Never went home.
I went home one time.
One time.
Before I was married,
happened?
I went one time. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I had the flu or something.
But
Maybe I had the first case of COVID in 1991 or something. I don't know what it was. But I went straight home after a game one time.
But I mean, you look at even golf. You can compare it to golf now. I always heard back in the older days, guys went to the bar afterwards. Always had a couple
Arnold
beers
Palmer,
after
right?
Played cards, did whatever. They had
Arnold
fun.
Palmer. I'd see Arnold Palmer when I lived in Palm Springs. He'd be at the Nest every night.
Yes.
Oh, what a
At the
place!
Nest
Wow.
every night.
It's still
What a
there,
place.
and it's
It's still
still
there.
weird.
I was there a couple weeks ago. I had dinner there.
Oh,
I
wow.
love that. I love
bet
that
you could
place.
get us in there.
Happy
I bet we
hunting.
had a line.
Dodie used to date. She owns the place now. She used to date my brother Ken.
That is
You got to be
unbelievable.
dangerous in the nest.
Yes.
Oh my God!
Oh,
But
boy.
Arnie was there every night, and we would go there during the Bob Hope and just kind of hang out. And it was we were in awe. Oh God, there's Arnie. There's Doug Sanders. There's
Doug Sanders. Oh my God.
Miller Barber over there. It
Oh,
was
the
great.
X-Man. Yeah. So what was the routine after a game when you were playing in your heyday? Like, what would it do? All right, you finish the game, go to the locker room, have some beers, then are you going out
We'd
and
go
doing
in
stuff?
we'd go in the locker room. We'd have some beers, talk about the game a little bit. Obviously, it was real quiet if we lost. It was really loud if we won. Everybody was having a good time. If we lost, there were always guys that felt responsible for it, and you always go over and sit with them, give them a beer. Then the routine was to go sit in the sauna. I'd always sit in the sauna, and I had to ice my knees because I hurt my knees a lot. I had 5 major knee injuries or tore ligaments in my knee 5 times, so I had to ice them. So I would go in the sauna with a couple beers and ice my knee, and I'd sweat. I'd just sweat out the 2 beers I drank.
Yeah, so you're even.
Yeah, so I'm even.
level. It doesn't even count.
Kansas City in the summertime, it's so freaking hot.
my God.
And we're playing on AstroTurf.
Yeah.
And that just wears your body down. So it was always good to go sit in something hot. So I'd go in the sauna after every game, have a couple beers, and then ice my knees for like 10 minutes, and then shower. And there was always a place, a place in Kansas City. For a while it was Westport, and I kind of outgrew that. A lot of college kids would come home for the summer. All of a sudden, I didn't like that place. Then I'd go to the Plaza, which is more of an upscale place, and it's right next door. And then I started going to a little family area called Brookside. And a buddy of mine owned a Mexican restaurant there. And I bet the last 2 or 3 years I was single, I'd go there almost every night after a game.
That's so awesome.
That's how legends do it.
Yeah,
That doesn't
I'd go there
exist, though,
almost every
anymore,
night,
right?
and people would know I'd go in there, but they became friends.
Could you go out, though, and not be hassled? Like, you were the biggest name in Kansas City. Could you go out and have a night without being pestered to the
people
point?
there. It's Kansas City's different. If it's L.A., we don't have paparazzi. We don't have any of that stuff. I don't go to malls, but I'll never go to a mall to this day. I will never do that. But I'm not worried about going to a restaurant or anything like that. Not right. I go to the grocery store every day. You know me. I love to cook.
Yes, you do. You're a grill master.
Well, I got to go to the grocery store every day. I don't know what I'm cooking tomorrow. Let me see. Tomorrow, what am I cooking? I have no idea. But tomorrow, I'll probably stop at AJ's on the way home.
Yeah.
And grab something and grill it.
Well, as you should.
Yeah.
But
in Kansas City, I do that every day.
Yeah, but you told me that part of the reason you stepped away from the game is because you didn't hang out with your teammates anymore because they all went home.
I'm 40 years old. I was 40 years old when I retired. We had a lot of guys. Their fun, their night of fun after a game was to go to their room, drink Diet Coke, they'd get pizzas, and they'd play Golf Nintendo. That was their idea of a good time.
That's some wild
That's not
shit.
my idea of a good time. My idea of a good time was to go to some local pub, regardless of the city you're in. I mean, if you're in Milwaukee, we would go to, God, I can't think of it. But in every city you had
a spot.
You had a spot that you would go. And all of a sudden, I'm going there with our manager, Hal McRae, our hitting coach, Lee May. I'm going with the coaches. Yeah. And I really had nothing in common with my teammates, nothing. They were all younger, and they just don't get me wrong. I love playing with them, but I had nothing in common with them.
So when you look at the league now, like the bigs now, are you glad that you played in the era that you
Yes.
did and
Oh,
not
yes.
playing right now, being that it's more just like a business? And it's
It
just
is.
like
It is a business,
boom, boom,
and with social media, I mean,
Yeah.
social media. I mean, I'd be in prison.
Hey, I was about to
I'd
say,
be
how long
in
do you think?
prison.
How is your career different if social media existed when you were running around?
Oh, I wouldn't even go out. I mean, I would be like a player now. I would be like a player. I'd be afraid to go out.
Yeah, everything's on film.
I'd be afraid to go out. I mean, it's not that I was a bad guy. I went out and had fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But now that fun's on video, and it's going to come back to bite you sometime.
Oh, here's George Brett out drinking the night before a game.
Yeah.
Which is apparently frowned upon. You have till 7 o'clock the next night to get it out of your system.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
come
you
on.
got a sauna, dude.
I
That
could
speeds
sleep.
it up.
I could sleep till noon. Well, back then I'd sleep till about 11. I'd sleep till about 11 every morning. I had no problem sleeping till 11.
11?
I should have
You
played
get
baseball.
home. You get home at 2 in the morning, 2:30. You
9
sleep
hours?
till 11.
Nine's
You
plenty.
kind of wake up. You putz around the house a little bit. Go out and have lunch about 12:30, and then you go to the ballpark about 2:30 in the afternoon. Get your work in. Go to the training room. Play little cards with the boys. It just depends.
God, that sounds like the life.
It was
That's
good.
just when shit was cool back then.
Yeah.
Same with every sport. It's not just baseball. I feel like all of them, and now they're more just like a business. Like I got my manager, my fitness team, my nutritionist, everybody.
Well, how about golf?
They don't
back
do
How
anything.
about golf back in the day? And, Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus, and those guys, they would go out and they'd have their caddy and they'd play golf. Well, nowadays they got the guy that comes over and stretches them. They got their nutritionalist.
Who are you
Nowadays
talking
they got
about?
Woody, Sherry.
You told Gary, you're like,
Sherry.
I'll stretch you for $2,000 a day.
Yeah, he's paying some guy $2,000 to stretch him for the week. I said, I'll stretch you for $1,000.
Save you,
Yeah,
save you
To go
25
out-
grand.
Hey. Okay, I'll do my Achilles. Okay, now you do a hamstring. Okay, let's go get him.
Pay me.
That's it.
That'll be
That's
$2
it.
grand.
Yeah. Oh, that is
Oh,
awesome.
you got to cook the. I gotta have my egg whites. What's an egg white?
Oh, that's awesome.
Have you ever had egg whites?
I have, actually.
I've never had it. I've had
Egg yellows.
I made eggs today. I made me an egg sandwich with some kielbasa, some spicy kielbasa. I made an fried egg sandwich today with some kielbasa and a little mayonnaise on there, and I threw some banana
You like your
peppers.
mayonnaise.
Oh my God, it was so good.
Dude, this man can cook.
Yeah, I've been
I've
told
been to
about.
the
I
house.
know about your cooking. I've
We'll
heard you
have you
talking
over.
about it a
We'll
little
have
bit.
you
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
It's
We'll have you
special.
over.
But we got to talk a little bit more about your baseball before we get into golf because
Okay.
you had one of the greatest
I would
careers
rather
ever.
talk golf.
We'll get there,
we'll
but I
do
got to
some
ask you this.
Okay.
One more baseball thing.
Okay.
Because, you have 3,000 hits, 300 homers, bat over 300, one of only 4 guys to ever do it. First ballot Hall of Famer. You got 98.2% of the votes.
Yeah.
What the hell did you do to the 1.8%?
Yeah. Who are
Well,
these guys?
I don't know, but
Did you ever figure out who it was
believe
that
me,
didn't?
No,
Vote
no. Some people just don't vote for anybody. I'm not going to vote for them the first year. That's what I was told. But I was told on January 5th I was going to get a phone call or I was not going to get a phone call. And they said, if you get the call, you usually get it between 10 and 10:30 your time. I said, okay, fine. I was up at 5 o'clock. I'm go down to my gym. This is my old house.
You were worried you weren't going to
Yeah,
get the
how'd
call?
you-
Oh,
could
you
you
don't
be
know.
worried
You
about
don't know.
But I mean,
I
you
got in a
really
fight.
know.
I got in a fight with a guy, one of our reporters in Anaheim one night. I mean, I punched him, and he's one of the guys voting.
That's what. Well, there's one. of them.
There's
one.
one.
of them.
Yeah, got it.
But it was like 2:30 in the morning,
Yeah.
and I came home, and he's been writing bad shit about me, and I just, you're an asshole. So I said something to him. I said, hey, is that your wife, or is your wife back in Kansas City? And he got in my face a little bit, and I just kind of punched him.
Yeah, it just happened. Just
Guess
kind of
what?
punched him.
And so guess what happened? I got up about 3 o'clock in the morning. The general manager's knocking on my door. Okay, come on, we got to go rectify this brawl. We got to go apologize.
That's
So I
incredible.
did, but no, you don't know. So all of a sudden it's like 11 o'clock and there's no call, and I'm going, holy shit, maybe I didn't make it. Robin Yount and we both got 3,000 hits the same year, came up the same year, and retired the same year. I mean, I got 98%, and I thought Robin was one of the best players I played against for a 20-year period. And he got like 82%. So you never know.
That's crazy.
But the reason I got 98% is because when I played with some emotion. I mean, you never saw me hit a ground ball to second baseman and jog to first. You never saw me hit a pop-up, throw my bat down, and jog, just jog. I mean, every time I hit the frickin' ball, I ran.
Yeah.
And every single I hit was a double in my mind. I would round the bases, and a lot of times I turn singles into doubles. Where the outfielder would kind of nonchalant it, just jog over there and go like this, and I'd see that, and I'm going, holy shit, this is a double, and I'd bust into second base and slide safe. I did that maybe 10 times a year for 20 years. That's 200 more doubles, and I think I'm 5th all time in doubles in baseball. So. Why? Because I played the game hard.
Yeah.
I played the game hard and I played the game right.
Yeah,
and
that's hustle.
That's why I think I got 98% of the vote.
That's awesome.
And going in with Robin and Nolan Ryan, Nolan Ryan, I faced him. I did a documentary on him last week. They were in Kansas. They were here. And they came over to the house in the backyard and we filmed it. And I did not know this. I had more at-bats against Nolan Ryan than anybody else in baseball.
Really?
Oh, wow.
How'd you do?
Yeah.
Yeah, what was the
I think
the
my
lifetime
career batting average was like 270. Not only did I have the most at-bats, I had the most hits.
Yeah, it's got to be one of the highest, I would think, against Nolan Ryan.
Yeah,
lifetime.
and I wasn't the highest in strikeouts, which is good.
Taking your own advice. Don't strike out and take walks.
Don't strike out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of strikeouts in the game these days.
All right,
Yeah,
kids.
too
Hustle
many.
and also
Too
be
many.
one of the best hitters to ever play
And
the
don't
game.
strike out.
That's the rule.
Right.
All right, I'll
Don't
give you.
strike
I'll
out.
give you. Since you said you want to talk about golf, I'll give you a little hybrid baseball golf story here. All
Okay.
right? I need to know if this is true because you got a lot of stories that are legendary. This one's out there. I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard this. 1980 was the year you had an injury.
I'll tell you the story.
You got it? Okay, there you go. That's it.
It's
1980.
an honest to God
Go.
true story.
Tell me if this,
Playing
tell
golf
me if
with a
that's
guy
real.
named George Kimball, who was a writer for the Boston Globe, and Scotty McGregor's in town. I played high school with Scotty McGregor. He's playing for the Orioles, and we had a Saturday day game, and I had a home at Lake Quivira, and so afterwards we go out to the house, and I was going to grill something, and they said, let's go play a few holes. I said, fine. And I had like a splint on my ankle, and I'm walking, and we had a cooler of beer, obviously. And all of a sudden, I'm walking by like the third hole, and Scotty hits a ball, and I got my putter in my hand. And he says, hey, look out, 4. I look up, I see the ball. This is an honest-to-God true story. I grab my putter, I swing at it, hit it right on the sweet spot of the putter.
Wow.
Honest-to-God true story. Yeah. He's probably, 100 yards out. Ball flies and lands 5 feet from where he was standing. And this guy, George Kimball, I think was his name. And the one thing about George Kimball, he only had one eye. He had a glass eye. And he used to take it out all the time.
Of course, yeah.
And
cool.
of course, if you got a glass eye,
take
you
it
take it out as often as you can. And I swear to God, he was there and he went, oh my God, that's why you're hitting 400.
Yep.
If you could hit a golf ball in the air back to, it was 5 feet from where they hit it from. I mean, it was.
It's hard to like.
You know what? I miss a putt. I pick up my ball and I want to. On the green, I miss it every time.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's hard to putter click one when you throw it up and swing at it. Like people miss that all the time. And this one was coming from I was told 100, 150 yards, and someone said 4 in the air, and you picked it up and had your putter in your hand and just turned and hit it literally to where they were standing.
Right. It was the.
So that's
real.
the
strangest. That's the real story.
Holy
True
shit!
story.
I thought that was gonna be one of the fake
awesome.
ones. You got a ton of these.
Even. When you guys are on the range, you're by the putting thing, and you pick up the ball and you kind of bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
I still can't do that.
Well,
I was
coordination,
practicing
you can't do that.
today. I can't do it.
We'll teach you how to
I
do it.
was
we
in my
can't hit
backyard doing that today.
We can't hit the middle of the putter face with the ball flying from 120, so you're all right.
But as we mentioned earlier, you pretty much achieved everything there was to achieve in baseball: MVP, batting title, Gold Glove, World Series. But I've heard you say baseball. Nothing in baseball is your greatest sporting achievement ever.
Right.
What is your greatest sporting achievement in the life of George
Well,
Brett?
it was a Christmas card back about 3 years ago, and I qualified to get into the Mission Hills Country Club Golf Championship.
There's some good players there.
There's
golf
some really
championship.
good players, to see who was the club champ.
Yeah.
And the year before, I lost in the first round, and to a guy named Mike Steyert. And so I qualified again because 2 or 3 people were out of town. They take the 16 lowest handicaps. I think I was a 4 then. And so all these guys are gone. And so I get in. I'm the 15th seed out of 16. My first round is against Kevin Ward, who played number 1 at KU ahead of Gary Woodland. He's a +4 handicap. I'm down 2 after 2 holes, and he and I are good friends, and I'm riding with him in the cart, and I'm just bullshitting with him the whole time, and I know I'm going to lose, and he's trying to get this thing. Next thing you know, we're even. Next thing you know, I'm up 1. Next thing you know, I'm up 2, and I'm sitting in the car. I'm starting to feel I'm feeling a little guilty. I'm going, God, this is unbelievable. He hits that a bound on 17. I beat him.
2-1.
2-1. And you know what? It was like, oh my God, how the hell could George beat me in golf and match play?
That's
the
a
next
tough one
day.
for him to,
The next day, I play a guy named Brandon Buckley. I had 5 birdies first 15 holes, close him out. Next day, I play against Jigger James. I play with him all the time. He beats me 9 out of 10 times. Beat him on the 17th hole. And I'm playing Brian Norton, who just became, I think he just won Seminoles National. Mm-hmm. He's their club champion just recently. And he's won the Coleman Cup there. I'm playing him. He's played in the U.S. Senior Open, used to play on tour. I'm 2 up after 2.
Oh, boy.
I par 1. He bogeys it. I birdied 2. And now, you know, I'm like 2 up after like 7 holes. And then it's the best 4 rounds of golf I've ever played in my life. And I did it 4 days or 3 days in a row. Because on Saturday we had to play 36. My wife's out of town. She's in Chicago with a bunch of her girlfriends. And she calls after, hey, how'd you do against Ordo? I beat him. There's no frickin' way you beat Kevin Ward. Okay, I got Brandon Buckley, tomorrow. She calls. I can't believe you beat Brandon Buckley and you beat Jigger. Now you got Brian Norton in the finals. Oh, my God. And she's excited. She's coming home that night. And so I'm 2 up, and then next thing you know, I birdied 18 to shoot 70, to shoot even, and he conceded. He conceded because he was putting for a 6. He was putting for a 6, and I had a 15-foot putt for birdie. He just said, "Pick it up, champ." I started crying.
But here's
the
passion you're speaking with right now.
But here's the funny thing: out of bounds is left. It's Belinda, and the number 1 fairway is right. But we have all these trees. I just said, well, if I hit it out of bounds, I'm going to lose. I'm drilling it for the first fairway, and if it hits the trees, I don't give a shit. Sure enough, it misses the trees. It rolls in between these trees, and he hits it right down the middle. He's a little shorter than I am. His next shot, he hit a terrible second shot. It goes in a fairway bunker about 108 yards or 110 yards from the green. And I shoot one under the tree limbs, and it goes up there 115 yards to the green.
Obviously a par 5.
Par 5.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm outside him. So I knock it up there out of the light rough, and I knock it about 15 feet below the hole. Easy putt. He's already hit out of the bunker, and he comes up short. He hits a beautiful chip shot. It lands on my little plastic ball marker that I got stuck in the ground. I swear to God, the ball, it's a little one, not a big one. People accuse me of going on Belinda and getting a manhole cover to mark my ball. That ball comes up, and it's going to end up being a foot away. And he's one of the best putters I've ever, almost as good as you. Hits that marker, goes 5 feet in the air. Now, green's like this, and it's got a thing, and it's kind of like this. It goes to the back of the green.
Because it hits
so
your
now
ball
he's
marker.
1, 2, 3 short. He's 4 back here. He putts it outside where I am. He misses that putt. He turns and says, "Congratulations, champ." Oh, frick. I'm going to start crying now. I had tears. And so that year at Christmas, my name's now in the men's locker room. And we were there. My whole family was there. We're dressed up for something. We're all in suits. All my 3 boys. My wife's in a gown, and I'm in a suit. I think it might have been tuxedos. And so we take a picture there, and I'm going to cry. I swear to God.
We've never had anybody cry.
No. So we take a picture, and we're all pointing up there, and it says "Club Champ." It's fucking unbelievable. On the back of it. No, it was a picture of us. And then on the back of the card, we're all pointing up there. I swear to God, I'm crying. And it was, and my wife put this on the card. Greatest accomplishment in sports ever.
Oh my God.
Every time I go sit there and have beers afterwards, I sit there and I just look at my name up there. Since then, it's been Sid McKnight, it's been Kevin Ward, it's been all these guys.
World Series, batting titles.
I'm finally a success.
The craziest thing is I need a beer to calm down my emotions.
You need to level out right now.
Yeah, but the craziest thing is I had teammates. I had teammates that could pick me up.
Yeah.
Nobody picked me up there.
That is so.
That's all you.
I was the underdog 4 frickin' matches in a row, and I outlasted them all.
The miracle on grass. Miracle on grass.
Fuck that miracle on ice.
Yeah, dude. No, that ain't nothing. That wasn't an upset.
1980. Beating the
shit.
Russians. I beat Kevin Ward and Brian Norton.
That is awesome.
It's unbelievable. You're a Hall of Famer, one of the best.
Michael
hitters in baseball,
Eruzione
talk
would
like
trade
that.
places with me right now. And that Brooks guy, what was that coach's name? Brooks?
Herb Brooks.
Herb Brooks?
Yeah.
He wasn't in the locker room giving me a speech before the
You had to
match.
give
I
yourself
did
a
it on
speech.
my own.
Well, maybe your wife gave you a speech each night.
I just said, hey, just try to make it
Oh, my
respectable.
God. I feel like I just watched Rudy right
Yeah.
now. I want to cry.
Oh,
Run
God.
through a brick wall.
We'll stay on golf, obviously. You just got back from a very special trip.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Tell us all about it. And was this the first time?
No, I played there 4 or 5 times.
tell the people
I've been
where it
5
was at.
times.
Yeah, where was it?
I got an invitation about 2 months ago to go play Augusta National with a guy that I really don't know that well. He just bought into the Royals, and I've known him a little bit. And he says, "Yeah, I got a couple guys going down there, me and another guy, and we're going to play. Would you like to join us?" I said, "Sure." And I didn't know what my role was going to be in spring training because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And with COVID, I'm not really that involved this year. So usually I suit up every day, throw batting practice, hit fungo, sit in the dugout. But with the COVID and the guidelines that they want you to live by, it's just not going to work for me. So I said, "Sure, you own part of the Royals. If I'm involved in spring training, you got to get me. You're my day pass, you know."
Yeah.
He said, "Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it." So we go down there. I meet him at the airport. The next thing you know, says G650 comes and picks us up at Scottsdale
As you do.
Airport.
Tough it out, George.
As
Which
you
was
do.
great. We go to Sage Valley because they wanted to just they were going to leave like at 3, get a hotel room in Atlanta or in Augusta, and then just go over to the club at 11 when we were supposed to meet our member. I said, "Well, God, I'm a member of Sage Valley. Let's just go there and let's leave at 1. We can have dinner. We can play the par 3 course. We can stay in the cabin and drive over in the morning." Perfect. So that's what we did. And we get there and met this wonderful man. His name's Walter Driver. Mm-hmm. He was on last year. His job was he was on the first tee announcing the players. So if you were there playing last year, he would have said, "Now on the first tee, Colt Knost."
But I wasn't there.
You weren't there. So
And that's
he
not
said,
what they say, but we'll just let it slide. 'Cause you're
Okay,
George Brett.
let's give a warm welcome to
4,
Colt
please.
Knost. 4, please.
George Brett now driving.
Yeah, is that what it is?
Yes.
So
And
that
Walter
was
Driver,
his job last
yeah.
year, but he was a wonderful guy. And so we get there, we do the COVID test, the whole COVID test, and they let us in, all 4 of us in. So then we go have lunch.
good.
We're walking we're eating outside. It's a beautiful day. I see Peyton Manning. He's a member.
Yeah.
Peyton Manning's a member, and he's got 3 country western stars who I've heard of, but I don't remember their names. Excuse me if you listen to
This
the
is
show.
really this is upsetting me because I'm a big country star.
Yeah.
Probably the guy from
That's a fan.
Nationwide, I would have to think.
Okay, what were
Brad
their what were?
Paisley.
Yeah, who's that? Brad Paisley.
Okay, that might have been him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Black
I'm
hair.
not
That might
really
have been him. I
Black
don't know.
haired
No.
guy.
I'm not really into country music. I mean, I like it, but I don't know any of the people. So he's there, and so we teed off a couple groups after him. Then we see him at dinner, and then the next day we had breakfast. But it's whenever I get an opportunity to go there, I'm going. I mean, it's just
No matter what
wonderful.
you're doing.
I'm doing it, and I played golf years ago when my son was playing golf, or he was living in Australia, and my wife and I went over 2 weeks to visit him. He was living in Melbourne, and so we had an opportunity, me and my son, to go play Royal Melbourne. And I played with a guy named Ian Scholes. I'll never forget this. And we had our little buggies, and we get there, and we go in, and we have to have a little pot pie first. And then we went out, and we walked 18 holes. And then we went in, and he had a bottle of wine, which I would rather have a beer, which I let him know. Then he had a cup of coffee, and he said coffee. I said, no, I'd rather have another beer. To make a long story short, then we grabbed some beers for me and Jackson. We drive back. We had a driver take us there. And I texted Ian Scholes, and this is so true about the game of golf. Never met him before. The nicest man you'll ever meet. Anybody, if you ever get to Australia, look up Ian Scholes. He's a wonderful host. And I texted him, and I didn't even think about it. I said, Ian, what a wonderful day I spent with you today. It's amazing about this great game of golf. We're strangers at 4 or at noon and friends for life. And that's what golf is. You know, if you play 4 hours, you spend 4 hours, and you're both doing something that you enjoy. it's amazing how a friendship can accrue from that. You know what I mean?
That's cool.
And that's what I texted Walter Driver too. Texted him.
Did he text you back?
Yeah.
Okay, just check.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, golf's the ultimate unifier.
It is. He did not say, expect an envelope in the mail from Augusta.
Yeah.
Well,
He did not say
Augusta?
that. I shot 80 the first day and 78 on the second.
That's solid.
Which I liked. I was happy with it.
That's good. What's your low out there?
77. I shot 77
golfing.
once. I birdied. We played 27 that day, and I birdied 12 both days. Or
That's
both
cool.
times.
Oh,
which
that's
was
nice.
And the first day we played it, I parred it. The next day there's a little wind in our face, so I said, I'm going to take one more. I fly it over. I took a 7-iron, fly it over, hits in the ivy, rolls in the bunker on the downslope, and the pin's back.
Dead.
3 shots later, I'm still in the bunker because I was so afraid of hitting in the
water,
water.
yeah.
I'm going, come on. And finally, the 5th one goes in the water, and I said, give me a 5 because you can't take more than a 5. And that's the day I shot 78.
Oh, okay.
That's fair.
But I beat Tiger. Tiger got a 9.
Tiger made it.
That's right.
He made it 10.
A 10?
Well, it helped that you picked up after 5.
Well, yeah, it might have been. But you know what? I played pretty good. The first day, I drove it right down the middle, knocked it 20 feet from the pin, 3-putted.
Was it? I mean, is
It was
it
the
good
greens
shape?
were
Is it
fast. It was
like
it
they don't
was,
need to. We're gonna have an okay Masters
Oh
in
yeah,
April.
oh yeah. The greens were fast, and it was wonderful. Caddies were great. I mean, just the whole atmosphere is just. Have you played?
I have not.
I've never even been on the ground.
I have not.
Oh, get out of here!
This year I'll be my first time.
Oh my God!
You know that good friend of ours, Gary Woodland. You know he could take me.
Yeah, he gets a few
Jordan
rounds.
Spieth, take me. Nothing.
Crickets. That
rude.
shows you where you stand with a fella.
Gary can take a guess.
Since he's qualified, there's a certain
A period
weekend or
you
something
could go there
you
and
can
play.
take, and you can bring someone.
Yeah, Walter said he's played with somebody. He takes him
I
out there
introduced him to his.
before.
I introduced Gary to his wife.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that could be a thank you note.
Right.
Or
That'll
he
show-
doesn't. Not sure. Yeah,
That'll
kinda
show
rude,
you
though.
where you stand with a fella. You
By
know
the
what
way,
I mean? When they get the free round and they don't send the invite.
Speaking of Gary, you know, we were watching the Super Bowl together this year, and we don't need to talk about the Super Bowl. It wasn't the best for the Chiefs, but it's okay. You made it there again.
Sure.
It happens. But he missed the cut at Phoenix, and we're sitting there talking. We're having a couple, and he kept going on how he doesn't drink during tournaments. And you said, Gary, I'm tired of this. You got to have some alcohol in your system when you play.
Well, I mean,
What advice?
the last few years he would come out here, and you've been with us. Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night. You know, he would go out and he would be with the boys having a good time, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
He came to my house Monday night of the thing, and he said, what are you cooking? Because they're not supposed to go out to have dinner because of COVID. So we said, what are you cooking? So I said, well, I don't know. What do you want? I'll cook you anything you want. So I cooked him a steak, or I think the next night we did fish. Or no, he doesn't eat fish. He doesn't eat fish. I think we did steak, and then we did pork or something, or I did something else. And he didn't have one drop of alcohol. And I'm sitting there, you know, having my beers. I'm having my wine. My wife was not in town. She goes back and forth from here to Kansas City. So I think it was just the two of us. And you know, he was kind of boring.
He was kind of boring.
Gary, you heard
Sober
it here
Gary,
first.
you're
man.
boring.
Yeah, it was kind of
George
boring.
thinks you're boring.
I gave
That's
him the
good advice for
pimento
everyone.
cheese dip that he loves. I had that out for him. I think somebody else might have been over there. I don't know. But it was, you know, and then he misses the cut. I'm going, maybe the guy needs a little bracer.
booze in your system.
He needs a little bracer.
So if you're a mental coach for Gary right now, you tell me you need to look,
Come
kick
on,
a couple back a few
come on.
times.
Let's just go out and have a couple beers and one glass of wine and call it a night.
I
He
think
told
that's
me
good
this.
advice.
This is how big a deal George Brett is in Kansas City, okay? Gary has his little boy Jackson, and the twin girls are born. Well, the girls over at the NICU or whatever, and Gary's going over to see Gabby at the hospital. And he's like, dude, it's Fort Knox around this joint. Like, I cannot get in. Like, the night before, they wouldn't even let me in. None of this. Gabby has to, like, tell them to, like, let me in. He goes, I finally get in, and George's wife owns a flower shop right down the road from the hospital.
Right. And that's where all three of my
goes,
kids were born.
so
All three of my kids were born at this hospital.
So you're a
But
regular.
He finally,
Yeah,
Gary
I'm
finally gets in. The guy who has kids there right now finally gets in. All of a sudden, he turns around and there's George talking to like 8 nurses.
Well, one
he's
of
like,
them,
"How the hell did you get
delivered
in?"
my 3 kids.
Hey, Gary, here's your
The one
kid.
George just walks in.
No, Colt, the one behind the glass delivered all 3 of my kids.
It's incredible.
She was a nurse on duty when all 3 of my kids are born there.
But he was-
She's going, George, hey, how's Jackson doing and Robin doing? I'm going, oh, they're great. I got these flowers for Gary Woodland, my wife's flower shop. Oh, yeah, let me call up. Next thing you know, Gary's walking. How the hell did you get
Gary's
it?
getting his blood checked, his fingerprint. No, we're not sure about you.
Love that. That's so good.
George, come on in here, bud. Meet
Yeah.
Gary's kid.
Oh, that's so funny.
Oh, that's incredible. You want to do it? You want to
go
hit
to
a little?
E9er?
You want to hit a little
I mean,
E9er?
I would say let's just tell the people we've all heard the Bellagio shit in your pants
Yeah,
story,
God.
which I mean we've all said it. So we're gonna skip over that and to get some other stuff. We want some new stuff from George.
Okay.
All right. Well, before we get to the emergency 9 with our guy George Brett, let us tell you about our newest sponsor, Austin Cocktails. Sleaze, we likes to get amongst it, and this is the thing that helps us do that.
This is get amongst it in a can, boys and girls. Right here, as it says on the can, 2 cocktails in every can. And Colt, it's got a high ABV, which stands for?
Alcohol by volume.
That is
and by the way,
correct.
let me tell you how high, 12.5% alcohol. So you want to get amongst it, get yourself an Austin cocktail. None of those weak seltzers that got 5%. Those don't do anything to you.
No, dude. If you want to get amongst it, this is 2 in 1 can. No more watered down drinks you paid $12 for and don't get anything out of. Get you an Austin cocktail. It's a double whammy.
And obviously I like it because it's low carb and low calorie.
Of course, dude. It's easy on the body. You can still stay about that fitness.
Exactly. But these things are taking off like crazy. It's a perfect golf course drink. So you want to get amongst it on the golf course? Get yourself an Austin cocktail. Make your day even that much better. And now here's the E9 with George Brett. So we're going to go to the emergency 9, which is, I think you watched Commy's episode, so you know the 9 fun questions we do. So
I have never driven
I might
Uber.
add in a bonus question. Maybe we'll
I
do
have
E10.
never driven Uber.
I know you haven't. But number 1, we ask everybody, movie made about the life of George Brett. You can pick any actor, dead or alive. Who's going to play you?
You know, dead or alive? I'd have to say Sir Sean Connery.
Oh,
That was one of mine,
wow,
honestly.
really?
That was one of mine that I was going to kind of
I played
He's
golf
a
with him.
smooth
I played
operator. Oh, you
golf with
did?
him in Lyford Key in the Bahamas a few times. I just love him. I hit it in the fucking bunker.
There you go. Perfect. So we each pick one for you as well.
So and then one time we get through. First time I ever played with him, I'm drinking a Kalik in the thing, and he orders a gin, and it's like 90 degrees in the Bahamas. He orders a gin straight up, and I'm going, Sean, why don't you put a little ice in there? Wouldn't it taste better? He says, George, the ice dilutes the gin.
Hey, if James Bond tells you how to drink your shit,
bingo.
Hey,
No, he
that's
was
gospel.
That is awesome.
That's
There's
gospel.
another guy, out of Bradford, or what's his name? I don't know.
You're the one dude that's hard to pick for because, like, who's an actor as cool as you? Normally, we're like, all right, the guys are picking guys that are
Okay,
way
so you
cooler
got
than
one?
them. I had a couple. I had John Wayne, I think, is a good
Yeah.
one. He's the ultimate cool guy. And then I had Kurt Russell, just from like a
Baseball guy.
looks perspective and from
Well,
a baseball
I had a
perspective.
baseball guy, and also if you Google George Brett, there's a few pictures coming up with you on a horse, and I think this is a big compliment to you, Kevin Costner.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's baseball, big baseball.
Yeah, I'd say, that's a good
I
one.
feel like that would work.
Sir Sean, you're out.
No, that was honestly what I thought, but I was like,
Yeah,
that
Sir
really-
Sean's
you're-
out. Kevin Costner.
No, both.
I feel like you're a little more of a
Okay.
dude than like Sean Connery's cool. He's
I'm gonna
James
start
Bond,
this,
but you're a dude.
This spring, I've never started Yellowstone yet.
Oh my
oh,
God,
bud,
dude,
get
Yeah,
ready.
I got to do it.
you're
Real
gonna go
deal.
after every episode and be like, I can't believe I.
Yeah.
Makes me want to own a ranch, move to
I know
Montana,
you're not gonna text me
Exactly.
because
kill
you don't
people.
text.
You what?
I said I know you're not gonna text me about Yellowstone. You're gonna call me because you don't really text.
I would rather talk.
Avoid
I'm a talk
technology,
guy.
George.
I'm a
You're
talk
doing it
guy.
the right
I
way.
love
Yeah.
All right, next question. Where do you think you rank all time in terms of most famous Georges?
Well, my wife did an invitation at her flower shop about 3 years ago, and it was WWGD. What would George do? And they had George Bush. They had, and you
That's
opened
one.
it.
Yep.
Another George Bush. They had George Jefferson from the Jeffersons.
Yeah.
And they had,
George Clooney.
George Clooney's picture was on
Who
it.
else did I?
And basically what it was a men's night at the flower shop where you could come in and buy. We would stay open. We would stay open till like 10 o'clock at night. And we had hors d'oeuvres, open bar, and it was a way for guys to come and go do Christmas shopping for your wife. It was a huge success. So out of all the George Washington, I think George Washington's
in the
picture
mix.
was in there.
Curious.
Curious
George.
George
He's
Plimpton,
famous as
remember
shit.
him? Paper Lion, George.
George Michael,
I don't know who he is.
the singer.
George
I
Michaels.
don't know who he
right?
is.
I think it's Michael.
Never heard of him.
I don't know.
That shows you that he's not
obviously
famous.
not
So
famous.
you're obviously
I know
ahead
Mike
of him.
Mills. Famous Georges, I would say
You're in the mix.
top 20.
Top 20? Oh, easy.
Yeah, there's some King Georges
But
and
I
shit
don't.
like that
Yeah,
too.
King George.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're my favorite, George.
I like the fellas' night at the flower shop
that's a good
idea.
one.
That's a good idea.
What would George do?
That's solid.
And sure enough, he would go there, and my picture was the last one, and guys were showing up, and they're going, "What a cool invitation!" Yeah.
Oh, George Foreman.
I had George
Oh, there you
Foreman.
go. Yeah, the grill maybe
George
puts
Foreman.
him.
Yeah.
He's high.
You don't use
He's
this
in every.
Do you ever
dorm.
watch The Office?
Of course.
he's
You
a big
remember
one.
when Michael burned his foot on the George
Yes,
Foreman because
yeah.
he was cooking bacon when he
Yeah.
went to.
It's the best. I love that you just brought that up. Anyone watch The Office?
Yeah.
Shit.
Oh
I do.
my God!
All right, number 3. I know you really love talking about this. So the amount of money baseball players make now is just absolutely ridiculous. You got Mike Trout. I'm just going with some top hitters. Mike Trout, $37.7 million a year. Nolan Arenado, $35 million. Manny Machado, $32 million. Only Trout's the only guy that averages over 300 for his career. What would George Brett make if he put up those kind of numbers that you did?
My numbers?
Yes, you put up your numbers right now. Do you beat all those guys?
Yeah, I
salary-wise?
think so.
What would your contract be?
Well, they had a deal about 4 years ago. They had lawyers in Kansas City. They had, a dinner or something like that. And they thought it'd be fun to do an arbitration case. And this is 4 or 5 years ago. And they said, I think I was asking for $32 million and the club was offering 30. I lost. Hell, I'll take 30 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would
win.
do it. Put it this way. I think if I was playing now, and this is kind of a funny line I heard one time in Scotland when I flew over there with Rush Limbaugh, and we played golf for like a week, and normally they come out, the customs people come out to the plane. Well, they made us grab all our shit and walk to the terminal. And Rush says to me as we're walking through, he says, "Oh, so this is what the inside of a terminal looks like." I said, "You son of a bitch."
Oh, shit.
That is awesome.
But I don't think I would be, flying Southwest or American much if
No,
I
you
was
wouldn't.
making that
What
type
was-
of money for 5 or 6 years. Think about that.
I mean, Mike Trout signed, 14 years, 400 or
Yeah.
something like that? I mean,
Well, there was somebody just signed a huge contract.
Fernando Tatis Jr.
Yeah.
was a big one.
Yeah.
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 What was the biggest contract you ever had?
Mine was $3 million a year, but my last year I made $8 million because of other things.
Yeah.
Other things.
The $3 million a year was
$3 million versus 35 for guys that aren't batting 300
37.7.
career
Yeah.
right now.
That seems fair.
Jesus, that might
Well-
change your answer from "Are you glad you played in your era?"
Well, no, I am. I think we had more fun, and the game is different now. I don't think the players enjoy it that much.
That's fair.
You can't put a price on fun.
No, you
But if
can't.
I could, it'd be about $30 million a year.
What's the most you ever made on the tour?
On the course?
In 1 year.
It was like 1.6.
Yeah.
Nothing.
And you never.
You want to hear about my Jicky Jack career? I clipped 100 a few times. Pretty
100
big
grand?
gear. Yeah, you got a fucking ball.
Well, you can play.
No, thanks, George.
You can play.
Appreciate you. Just rigged system kept me from getting out there.
Hey, you were this close.
This
close
bud.
all the
And there's
time.
something to
Yeah.
be said for that.
Yeah.
All right, next question. We didn't even get into this part. Which of your golf buddies is currently the furthest below the Mendoza line for their handicap? We didn't even
Okay,
get
so
into
explain that to what that means.
But
Yeah,
those
you
like
should do it.
Under 200.
What do you mean under 200?
No,
Nottingham.
explain the Mendoza line, I guess, for people that don't know.
Well, I get credit for that from Chris Berman.
Yeah.
But I had heard it from numerous people. Chris had never heard it.
Oh, so you
so
didn't
I
coin
was
that.
the one that told Chris about it. He goes, "Oh my God, that's hilarious," and he gives me credit for that to this day.
And
The
it was
Mendoza
Mario
line.
Mendoza. It was
Mario
a shitty
Mendoza.
batter, right? He was a catcher.
But he was a great
right?
fielder. No, he
Right.
was shortstop.
I'm sorry, shortstop.
Yeah. Yeah, his career average was 200. So somebody said the Mendoza line. I go, "What's that?" Well, that's if you're hitting below 200, you're under the Mendoza line. So I don't understand the question. It would be
Who's
Who's
guess
shitty
who's
that
the
you play
shittiest
golf
of your
with?
golf
golfer?
buddies
The
based on
worst
what they
golfer?
should be.
Oh my God. John Langbine.
Oh, there you go. Perfect.
John Langbine. We all know John from
there you
Whisper
go.
Rock.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good answer.
John's got the Grand Slam out here, though. He's a member of Whisper Rock, Silverleaf, Scottsdale National, and Paradise Valley.
You got to have them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, they might be busy.
He
especially
might
if
not
they're
know what a
golden.
terminal looks like either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, next question. We mentioned you were a bachelor throughout your whole Major League
Right.
Baseball career for the most part. Do you believe in your mind that you were Derek Jeter's idol?
Ooh.
Because he kind of lived the same life you did.
No, Derek Jeter never heard of George Brett.
That's not true.
I don't know.
I listened
don't
to a
know.
deal where you went up and talked to him during the All-Star game.
I talked to him. He had 2 lockers. I never got 2 lockers. I had 3 lockers in Kansas City when I played there, but that was my locker room 181 games a year. You know, when I would go to a visiting city, I would always have 1 locker next to me. And I think that goes by seniority, and I think it goes by how much you tip the clubby when you leave. And I always tried to be a good tipper. One of the greatest compliments I got, I think, was when I was playing. They did a deal in Sports Illustrated, the best tippers in baseball, and I was number 1.
Wow.
Yeah.
I heard it very interesting.
But I didn't have to share my money with 3 kids, 2 dogs, and a wife.
That's a good point.
I lived alone. alone.
That's true. Dollar goes a long way when you're living alone.
But Derek Jeter done it right.
Yeah, he did it right.
I
never gave parting gifts, though. I understand he gave parting gifts.
Oh, yeah. He gives
what would you give as a
flower
parting
shop?
gift?
Your flower shop. You should hit that up. That flower shop you got.
The flower shop.
Okay, what's the next one? What's the next
All
one?
right, let's get off of this before we get in trouble. All right, next question. Have there ever been more females in a golf gallery than when you and Freddie Couples won the 1987 Pebble Beach Pro-Am?
Oh, God, Freddie, I tell you what a chick magnet he was.
Well, between the two of you, I don't think you were.
He was happily married at the time, but, I mean, I think women are just mesmerized by Fred. I really do. I mean, he's an amazing golfer. He's got the most beautiful swing I've ever. I just love his swing, and I love his temperament. I love everything about him.
I think guys love him, girls love him.
Yeah.
I think the same could be said for you. Dudes look at you and like, oh, that's George Brett, and then I think chicks might too.
He's the cool dude. Like,
might have been the whole gallery.
He is, but it was cool.
I thought you were lying to me. So when I was at AT&T,
no, you sent me
I sent you a picture. I'm like, oh my god.
You ever played up at Pebble and seen my plaque?
Yeah,
my plaque.
I don't know that I took notice of that, but I will next time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was
my plaque.
It's not as big as a club championship, but it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's etched in stone. The one up in Kansas City is etched in wood.
Never going away. Both great. Neither leaving.
All right, next question. Since you're the world famous George Brett, you've had the chance to experience all kinds of cool things, meet all kinds of cool people. Who's the coolest person you ever met being George Brett?
I think all the presidents I met them all, from Nixon on. Met every president since Richard Nixon.
But I was hoping you'd go with a guy you met in a restaurant in Palm Springs.
Maybe a singer? Maybe the leader of a group that was based on rodents?
Who's
that? Have long tails with no hair? Maybe the rat?
The most famous Frank of all time?
Maybe a rat?
Frank Sinatra.
Hey.
Frank Sinatra.
I mean, this is an incredible story how you met Frank
Sinatra.
You want me to tell the story?
Yes, okay. That's what we're getting to.
Yes.
So I have some friends of mine. Milton Richmond used to be the head sports writer for UPI, and his brother Arthur. And they were neither of them ever got married until years later. And this is like 1981. It had to be the winter of 80. I'm living at Mission Hills Country Club where the girls play. I had a condo, and Freddie had one down the street. Couples, Johnny Bench had one here. Greg Twiggs had one. John Cook lived around the corner, but they gave us good perks for living there. And so these guys came in to visit, and they're really good friends of mine. And let me see. Arthur brought Martha, and Milton, who was the head sports writer for UPI, God, like Carmelita or something like that, and they're both dead. Okay, I mean it's so long ago, and they were old back then.
R.I.P.
So we go to Skoma's on Highway 111 one night. And it's Monday night, and these guys are in New York, and they've met Frank numerous times. So all of a sudden, we're sitting in the restaurant at Skoma's, and it's Monday night, and there's a back room in the back, and that's where Frank used to go watch Monday Night Football. So sure enough, Milton goes up and he says, "Hey, is Frank here?" What do you mean, is Frank here? Yeah, Frank Sinatra. I'm a good friend of his. Well, we'll see if he's here. Tell him it's Milton Richmond. And Milton comes back and sits down. Sure enough, here comes Frank. Sits at our table. Has a little see-through in his hand, and they introduce me to him, and he looks at me, and he's going, "Oh, yeah, the baseball player, yeah, I've heard of you." And he says, "Hey, let me ask you a question. I was watching the World Series this year, and that guy threw one right behind your head. Does that happen very often?" And I go, "Well, it happens once in a while." And he says, "Well, if it ever gets out of hand, you let me know. I'll take care of it." Swear to God.
Oh, that is unbelievable.
Oh, shit, that's so good.
So Frank Sinatra. Let me know if it gets out of hand. I'll take care of it.
What'd you say? Like, yeah, dude, I'd like you to
said,
get
well,
on that.
yeah, it's kind of part of the game, Frank. But if it gets out
If
of
you
hand,
want to off a guy with the mob, then,
I'll let
so
Arthur
be it.
know. He can let Milton know, and then Milton, you can take care of it.
Frank
Holy
Sinatra's got
shit.
my back, so I'm good to go.
So I had that going for me.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yo, that's when you know you've had
He's
a
no
good
longer
life.
with us, is he?
But no.
No, I need you.
No.
I need you to kind of watch my back.
Yeah, well, you're in trouble
Yeah.
then.
Now that Frank's gone.
Yeah. Oh,
That's when
hilarious.
you know you've had a good life. When it's like, hey, who's the coolest guy you've ever met? And Frank Sinatra immediately doesn't come to your brain.
know.
You're like, oh, yeah, by the way, I met Frank might be a good guy.
Yeah, forget. That's awesome.
Holy shit. All right, next question. Whose butt cheeks were clenched harder? You standing in the lobby of the Bellagio in Vegas or Gary Woodland standing over his chip on the 71st at Pebble?
Mine. I had Niagara Falls ready to emerge, and he could. But what a shot that was!
I think they were both pretty tight.
Yeah, they were real tight.
That is.
But that shot, you had
But
to
I
be,
think mine were. I mean, I was frozen. I was frozen in time.
even watching your boy, though, hit that chip on the 71st, you had to be feeling the nerves.
What's he doing?
Why are you doing
Yeah, dude,
this,
you gotta-
Sherry?
I was in my
gotta
backyard
lead.
doing chipping today. I almost took 4 teeth out of my dog's mouth, Scold one because he loves to chase the ball.
Yeah.
And I'm hitting some flop shots, and I go like this, and all of a sudden, sometimes you just, and that ball, and I'm going, oh my God. But
Don't do that.
yeah.
That's awesome. All right. Number 9. You played a lot of golf with Gary Woodland. Y'all teamed up for a match in Kansas City before he went over to the British Open. You were playing Mike Illig, and I can't remember the other guy's name, but it was a very close match.
It was really close.
And you get to 17, which is a very long hole, tough
Right.
hole.
Well,
And
what they did is they put the tee box. They put the tee box. It wasn't on 17. They put it back on like number 4.
Mm-hmm.
So it would really be long. Now we got another 40, 50 yards to go. But they're trying because he's getting ready to go over and play. And they said, hey, we'll stretch it out for Gary. So we're playing the back tees. And all of a sudden, it's a little money game, not a big one. And he takes out a 3-wood. And I'm going, what are you doing? You can't hit a 3-wood here. And he says, well, I just want to hit one before I go over to play in the British Open. I said, fuck the British Open. We're trying to win today.
I got $50 on
And
this.
he started laughing so hard.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
I love that you weren't happy. British Open? We're trying to win this.
Exactly.
That is so good.
Fuck the British Open. You have no chance over there, Woody. We got a chance to win today.
That is awesome.
Take this 50. It's going to be the most money you win in
Yeah.
the next month. Oh,
Well,
that's
George,
good.
this has been a blast, my man. Thank you
been
so
fun.
much. I'm glad we finally got to do
Our,
it.
Likewise.
our first tiers on
Oh,
Golf
yeah.
Subpar.
Yeah.
Hey, respect. That's going to go
Well,
down in
thank
history.
you.
Thank you, George.
You
Thank
got
you,
it, man.
George. You're the best.
Thanks
great.
for the couple beers.
You got it, bud.
That was awesome. All right. Well, that was the legend, George Brett. Sleaze, like you said before, I mean, he brings some energy. He is a blast to sit and talk with.
I mean, it's unbelievable. You could just turn him on and let him go for hours and hours. And we made a point to try, like, he's done a lot of podcasts and things like that. You can listen to a bunch of interviews. A lot of the stories are the same ones getting regurgitated, and they should be because they're incredible stories, namely the poop in your pants story. We didn't get into that. We tried to uncover a few new ones in there, but I'm glad to hear him verify I'd heard the story about a guy hitting into him on the green while he was on crutches and grabbing a putter and hitting it back. And I was like, no chance that's real. I thought it was just one of those, folk tales out there, but turns out shit's real.
Yeah, he is a beauty. Like you said, awesome storyteller. By the way, I feel like I needed to be in the George Brett era. Like the whole playing your game, going to the bar, having a few cocktails, enjoying life. That's what I needed. This whole going to the gym and shit, that's way overrated.
Miss the old days where dudes used to, after golf, they sit down and play some cards and have some drinks and things. Like now it's like to the gym, to my physio, to my therapist, to my mental coach, to all that stuff. It's totally changed. But man, that dude, he's all time. We need to get George and Kami in here at the same time.
That'd
and
be
just
a
cut it
hell of a-
on and just have a little stories.
We wouldn't even
session.
talk.
I wouldn't have to. No, I wouldn't want to either.
No, but I mean, what a life he's lived. I mean, just got back from Augusta National. Really good friends with Rush Limbaugh, who unfortunately passed away recently. But I mean, George is just he's always in a good mood. It seems like I feel like I get happier when he's around.
Yeah, I mean, he's a national treasure. If you find somebody that doesn't like being around George Brett, then that's a you problem. That's a problem with that guy because he just lights up every single room he goes into and he just takes over, tells stories. He is a 10 of a dude and just one of the best guys to have in here. And hopefully we can have him back again.
And he doesn't like to lose, that's for sure, which he didn't lose much in his career, but especially on the golf course. The Gary Woodland story, how Gary was trying to hit a 3-wood to get ready for next week. George didn't like that.
Yeah, forget the British Open, bud. Trying to win here today.
Yeah, we're worried about this match in Kansas City right now.
How about how much he loves golf to the fact that he's telling a story about winning his club championship, and he literally is going into tears.
Our
Like,
first
hey,
crier.
what about all your batting titles and all the things like, oh, yeah, that was cool, too. But let me tell you about this round 2 matchup that I had at
sports
Mission
achievement.
Hills. Yeah.
Greatest sports
He
achievement.
was
from a
literally
guy.
in tears right here.
Unbelievable. Love him. Can't thank him enough for coming on. We are going to do it again with him for sure. But Sleaze, it's time to get to the gambling, where we make everybody out there a lot of money, even though I sucked last week. Our one and done, I had Victor Hovland, and he kind of played like, honestly, you on the weekend.
That's very hateful.
Very
Hateful.
very
Very
disappointing.
unnecessary comment right there.
I was very happy Thursday, Friday. He was sitting there tied for second going in the weekend and just shit the bed on the weekend. So
Might have run out of juice. The guy's been playing a lot of golf and a lot of tough golf, too.
I
It
know.
might have just been a matter of just running out of gas here before the finish line, which happens.
Bay Hill got the
best.
Bay Hill got the best of him on the weekend. But producer Mark, can you give us an update on the standings?
Yeah, so Sleaze had Matthew Fitzpatrick, who heading into Sunday almost made him a lot more money. Still good enough for a T10, $195,300 compared to Victor Hovland, who made just enough scratch to keep you in the lead. He made $22,832. Your lead is now $17,821 headed into the Players.
Snuggie.
Victor, I'm not happy with you.
Snuggie.
I know you listen to this. I'm not happy. You owe me an apology. But this week, Sleaze, the Players Championship. It's just the Players now. It's not even the championship. It's just the Players.
The Players.
This
is the one that Matt. This is the big dog of all big dogs. 1.6 something for winning.
No, 2.7. But
Sorry, excuse me. 2.6 something for winning. Yeah.
$15
Just feels
million
weird to say.
purse at the Players. No big deal. On one of the coolest golf courses in the world, in my opinion. This is my favorite tournament. It was to play and also to watch. I think this golf course doesn't get the respect it deserves. It's one of those ones, I know we talk about it all the time, where anyone can win, and we love that. Like you see guys who have won in the past. Justin Leonard, Fred Funk, Tim Clark, Phil Mickelson, Tiger Woods, Hendrick Stenson, Adam Scott, anyone.
Yeah, you can't put your finger on one. You can be a short guy, win around here. You can be a long guy, win around here. It's just kind of takes everything, and you sure as hell got to be able to close coming down 17, 18. It's one of the most fun tournaments to watch, and big dollars on the line this week. So this one matters.
Yeah, and it's really cool too. I love the Players Week as well because across the bottom on Golf Channel when it's doing all the stats, it says course record. My name.
I was
my
wondering
name
how long it would take for you to squeeze that in. I won all bets with all takers out there.
No
so
big deal. You know who shot lower than me at the Players?
I just
no
got
one.
richer.
All right, well, let's get to it. You got the honor. This is
do.
a big one. I'm nervous. I actually still don't know who I'm picking.
There's a lot of good options out there. A lot of guys playing well.
It's the
I
best
went
field in
away
golf.
from my no research philosophy that I've been using lately, although I am on a nice little cut streak made here. But I had to do one for this week. Too big of money. I'll let you be able to pick who I'm going with here off the stats. All right, 2018 champ.
Well, that tells me right there.
You know it. Hasn't played a ton this calendar year, actually, but he's got 2 top 6s in his last 3 starts. And I feel like this is a guy I have to pick because if I don't pick him and he goes and plays well and I had the chance to get him, I'm going to kick myself because there's a lot of shiny toys out there right now. A lot of guys playing well, a lot of new guys coming in that maybe haven't played there before that you can pick. But I'm going with old trusty Webb Simpson coming at 20-1, 22-1, depending on your book. So he's right there. He's like the 6th or 7th betting favorite. Got to go with Webb. I just feel like you know what you're going to get with Webb. It's probably going to be a pretty damn good week, and he might win. I got to go with a guy I'm just confident it's not going to shit the bed, and that's Webb.
I mean, he's a stud. Loves that place. He's just do you save him for Greensboro at the end of the year?
That's another one, but I feel like this is the one.
I mean, this is big
it.
one.
So I don't know.
If you pick a winner this week, I mean, it's going to be pretty damn hard
Tough
to catch
sledding.
you. Yeah,
tough sledding.
All right, this is tough. I'm obviously using a big dog. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
It's a huge tournament, but this guy he's played 2 Players Championships. He's got a second and a missed cut.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
we're gonna see what happens. I just think he is due to win a big one, and this is a big one. I'm going with the X-Man, Xander Schauffele. I just decided that. I had 3 names in my head. I had no idea who I was going to go with. I decided to go with Xander.
It pains me.
He just seems to play good every week. Why not do it with a $15 million purse in the line?
Yep, I love having Webb in my team this week, but when Xander's on the other side, I feel like that's a week you got to duck. You got to hopefully this ain't the week. I love this guy, and you're exactly right. He's due to win a big one, and it's coming inevitably sometime soon. Just maybe wait a week or 2 here, Xander. Maybe fire it off at Augusta once we both used you already. But yeah, that's a tough one.
This was tough. I had 3 guys in mind. I had Xander, Colin Morikawa, Patrick Cantlay. Patrick Cantlay is a stud. Doesn't have the best record around there. Colin Morikawa's never even played the Players because it got canceled last year.
Yeah, he's going to be real popular this week.
He is, and the golf course is perfect for him, but it just scares me he's never been there.
Yeah, I mean,
he's played it, but he's never.
Yeah, I think experience goes a long way in tournaments like this. So I mean, dude, you pick Xander at any golf course anywhere on the PGA Tour, and it's a good pick. I don't give a damn.
But saying experience helps. For my dark horse, I'm going with the guy who's never played the Players as well. Will Zalatoris, 60-1. I mean,
another top 10 last week.
All about iron play at this place, in my opinion, and he's as good as they come. So
what's his odds?
60-1.
60-1. That's nice.
Might sprinkle a little something.
That's definitely worth a sprinkle. I'll go with another one that's worth a sprinkle. I got Daniel Berger at 40-1. I mean, plays great on Bermuda grass. Florida guy, obviously. Was leading for a long time strokes gained tee to green since the COVID restart. I don't know where he stands in that right this second, but he just won at Pebble, so it can't be too far down. I mean, I think at 40-1, that's definitely worth a play too.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I cannot wait for it to get started. One of the best weeks of the year on the PGA Tour. Well, that's going to do it for us this week, Sleaze. Another awesome episode coming everyone's way next week. Boyd Summerhays will be in the building. You don't want to miss that. Everyone have a great week. We'll talk to you on next week's Golf Subpar.